I just saw Knives Out 3 at a local theater because it's only available in local theaters before it hits Netflix. Local meaning non AMC, Cinemark, Regal, just smaller chains. You should see movies in smaller chains to help keep them alive, but should you see this movie in a smaller chain? I will tell you if you should or shouldn't. Like, subscribe, share, comment, or do none of that. It's all up to you. I'm going to give my description, my review, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of what is right and what is wrong about this movie, in my opinion. So, the third installment in the beloved Knives Out series features Benoit Blanc in a reduced role. However, Josh O'Connor comfortably helms the whodunit as a young priest whose troubled past places him in the path of a fiery priest and his blindly loyal congregation. As these things go, an unknown offender commits a murder, and the audience and suspects must watch as the melodramatic but brilliant Benoit Blanc unravels another mystery. While it's easily the most mature and weighted of the Knives Out trilogy, the third time may not be a charm for some audience members. Wake Up Dead Man may not only be the film's title, but also a phrase you whisper to your neighbor in the audience once you've noticed they're 2 minutes of quiet dialogue away from an audible snore. However, there are many, including myself, who will recognize the appeal of this slow burn's tasteful exploration of religiosity, faith, and greed. Josh O'Connor shines brightest in the star-studded cast, but Josh Brolin, Glenn Close, and of course Daniel Craig also maximize their screen time. This movie's appropriately peppered with comedy too, so while you may feel a lull in the plot progression on occasion, a hearty laugh is not far behind. This movie's going to be a mixed bag for a lot of people. I think it's going to rate fairly well on all the sites, but it's not as smooth as the first couple. The first one established this character Benoit Blanc, who's just this comedic talent and investigative talent. He's just a fun thing, this cartoonish little thing. And then the second one, we kind of get more into a flashier environment. The first one's pretty drab, your old house, rich people. Then you have rich people in a more tropical setting. And now you have a probably an upstate New York cathedral situation. So it's a little bit more drab like the first one is. But it's not as, I don't know, it's not as lighthearted. This one has a lot to say, once again, about faith. And that topic, that kind of conversation can get a little rough for people, but it does it tastefully enough where me as an atheist, I don't feel like it's poking against religion, though I'm not against that. But I also don't think my sisters or my parents or cousins who also watched this alongside of me felt offended at any point. In fact, I think in moments they felt their faith was reassured in the movie, and I felt my lack of faith was also reassured. It's one of those things that does this balancing act of non-believers and believers can just get along just fine in this context. And any other context, you should get along with people that disagree with you unless it's about like human rights and stuff like that. Anyway, the star of this, Josh O'Connor, is great. I think I first saw him in Weapons. No, not Weapons. That's Josh Brolin. I've seen Josh Brolin outside of Weapons. What's the Zendaya movie? Zendaya Challengers. I don't know why I'm thinking Weapons. Yeah. Challengers is a good movie. You should also watch that. But Josh O'Connor is excellent in this. Like he's a narrator for a lot of this. He's a young person with a bit of an edge to him given his past. But he's also very sweet and kind. And you believe every part of this. He feels multifaceted. And in fact, his last name in this movie is not duplicitous, but it's like duplicity or something. It's a fake name, but obviously like the root of it is duplicitous. And he's kind of a couple of things in this movie, and that's an important part of the plot. Josh Brolin is just like scary. He almost looks like Jeff Bridges. He's like all scraggly and stuff. I mean that in the sweetest way. I love Jeff Bridges and his voice. He has one of the greatest voices I've ever heard in my life. But anyway, Josh Brolin is great in this, like as a very strong-willed, imposing figure. He is the lead priest in the church, and he will be damned if some random young person from out of town takes over what he's built. In fact, this is a family church for Josh Brolin, so the stakes are very high. And around him and Josh O'Connor's character, there's a lot of tension building. But beyond that, because Josh Brolin has such a loyal audience, the audience members also have tension towards Josh O'Connor's character. A lot of Joshes are happening here. I'm also a Josh, if you weren't aware. We're very common. But I maybe rank amongst the top 20,000 of us, so I'm pretty proud about that. Along the other parts of the cast, you have Mila Kunis, Thomas Hayden Church, who you might know as Sandman in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Andrew Scott, who I'm not familiar with, Kaylee Spaney. So who do these people play? I'll just rush through this. Mila Kunis is a sheriff, or at least a sheriff deputy in this movie. Jeremy Renner is a medical professional who is like someone recently divorced. Thomas Hayden Church is a groundskeeper for the church. Andrew Scott is this like former author. He's an author still, but he's like formerly associated with more a liberal audience, and now he's associated with a more right-wing audience. There's plenty of that grifting going on these days. Kaylee Spaney is this wheelchair-bound woman who is in the church not because of reasons regarding faith. Well, not overt faith. She's not necessarily a believer, but she needs to seek alternative methods to cure her ailment, and she has gone to the church because medical professionals couldn't help her. So you have a cast of characters here. Glenn Close is also here as the secretary, organist. She's just like the glue of the cathedral. And then Kerry Washington is here as an attorney in the local town. And then one of her relatives, Daryl McCormick, is here as this kind of like Zoomer type guy. He's always recording stuff. He's a grifter too, just like the writer is. All these people are fun caricatures of people you can meet in real life or see on TV or on the internet or whatever. But none of them have the important screen time like Josh O'Connor, Josh Brolin, Daniel Craig, and Glenn Close. I think those are the standouts here. The best part about this movie, again, is Josh O'Connor's performance, but also the humor that is sprinkled within. Josh O'Connor has good reactions to funny moments. He also provides some funny moments. And yeah, Rian Johnson's just good at writing humor. So you feel a sense of glee when he's like poking fun at different types of people in our society. And everything he's done at this point with this trilogy has felt very timely. And this is included in that. I do like all the puns. There's a lot of puns around faith. There's also like visual. I don't know. I don't have a film history, but like there's like visual puns. That's not what that means, but I'll explain that. It's like when there's a moment here where Benoit Blanc is like literally looking up at light and he's seeing the light. He's had a revelation, but as he's having a revelation, he's seen the light, which is obviously a turn of phrase in religion. And then there's another moment where somebody says, oh father, and it's like, I don't know if it's like it's a dual meaning basically, but I really like that. I think the writing is great in this. I think the location is also great. You know, you have this beautiful cathedral, you have a couple locations in the town, but nothing too crazy, but everything feels pretty cozy. And you could see how this could be a real situation where like this, you know, very charismatic personality of a priest develops this cult of personality that extends to dangerous territory, and all these things happen. And the things I don't like about this movie is that it does feel a little bit long. Now, the runtime is at 2 hours and 24 minutes. I think you can shave 20 minutes off of that and still have a damn good movie. In fact, have a better movie. I think some of the people in my crew today fell asleep. Now, they're also older and they'd eaten recently, so there's various factors at play here. But I do think this movie could have been a little bit shorter. And I do think the third act took a little bit too many turns. Like things are revealed, things are revealed, things are revealed, things are revealed. That's how Knives Out movies go, and that's how it should go. But I think the things revealed feel a little bit cheap. Not cheap in the sense that you can't see how it could have happened throughout the process of the movie. You know, you feel like in Knives Out movies, everything revealed at the end could actually have happened in the movie in real time, to the point that if you rewatch it, you will notice the things and you'll notice the suspect and confirm the suspect before the movie tells you on your second watch. I think all that stuff remains true. It's just that some of these reveals are a little bit out of left field when I reminisce about other reveals in Knives Out movies. And for that reason, it feels a little bit cheap to go some of these routes. You have questions about how this was really pulled off, but you still admire the creativity around it, and you don't think it's completely BS. So it's not a bad film at all. Should you see it in theaters? I think if you're a fan of this series, you have to. Like, just to justify, if they do a fourth installment, you need to get Netflix to get comfortable with the fact that there is a major audience for this that want to see this in theaters. So like, give them that motivation by paying to see this in theaters. But if you're just a casual watcher of movies, if you're somewhat familiar with the property but don't really care about it, like Benoit Blanc's not on, you know, your short list of best fictional characters of this century, yeah, you can watch this at home in a couple of weeks, enjoy it with your family, cozy up around, you know, a fireplace and a TV and have a good time. But see it in theaters if you can. Fun experience. I'm giving this an 8.5. It's a weak 8.5. I'm not going to watch this again anytime soon, But I'm happy I saw it, and I'm happy I saw it this soon because I'll be excited to see more thoughts about this as more people get exposed to it, so I can see, you know, if this movie is as thorough as I think it is in many ways, or as like thin and flimsy as I think it is towards the tail end where all the reveals are happening. But let me know if you see it. Have a good one. And happy Thanksgiving yesterday. Jack White performed at the Super Bowl. Not the Super Bowl. He didn't do that. He should do that. Performed at the Detroit Lions halftime show. Made me a very happy guy. I'm a big Jack White fan. And I just want to shout out you, Jack White. Thank you for being Jack White. Thank you.